time to return to commission work. This is one for YouTube user Yoshi Jr. Metal Tails, as he appeared in the recent comic book, right before the reboot. I wonder if there's still going to be a Metal Tails in it. There's still a Metal Sonic in it. We're going to have to find out. Metal Tails was made from the Metal Sonic figure, of course, a figure which is now much easier to find, as you can purchase a single-carded version of him from ToyWiz.com. So anyone who doesn't have the fantastic Metal Sonic figure, or you have a custom that would require a Metal Sonic figure, and you want me to make it, ToyWiz.com totally has it for a totally reasonable price. Although if you look closely at this one, you might notice a little flub. There was a factory assembly error, and this guy has two right hands. And not having any other Metal Sonic figures on hand at the time, I didn't have an extra left hand, so I had to modify this one into a left hand. I accomplished this by cutting off the thumb, the pinky, and the index finger, and swapping them around. I put the index finger and the pinky finger in each other's holes, and then I put the thumb on the other side of the palm, turning a right hand into a left hand. It's a somewhat inelegant solution, but once painted, it's barely noticeable. Besides his hand, the rest of the arm mod required only a little bit of extra sculpt to make the armor resemble Metal Tails' a little bit more. I tried to capture as much of the look of the armor from the comic book as possible without actually limiting articulation in the elbow joint. Quick repaint job later, and you have, Metal Tails' arms. By the way, once painted up, here's what the left hand looked like. You can barely tell the difference, can you? I was actually pretty surprised how much smaller Metal Sonic's head is once you cut away his spines. It's really tiny when you take it off. And you lose a surprising bit of mass at that. So I used my Dremel to smooth it out, make it rounder, and then of course I used my epoxy sculpt to make the head uniformly round and sculpt on some extra accoutrements. Of course, there's some things that are just better to salvage than sculpt, so a pair of extra Tails ears, again a legacy from a Princess Sally made before, and a couple of Tails' actual bangs actually complete the look. The roundness of the head and the cheek tufts, however, are epoxy sculpt. I made those parts. Quick paint job to make him orange, and change the red eyes to blue, and the face of Metal Tails is revealed. As I show you the mods I did to the legs, I think now's a good time to bring up that this figure photographed a lot redder than it actually is. I might get a couple of comments saying how the shade of orange I use is way too dark and way too reddish, but in actual naked eye, it's significantly lighter than this. It's a much closer match to Tails' orange than you would expect. Of course, I used a Testor's paint, which has a glossier look, which works because it's supposed to be a Metal Tails, so it actually looks like a shiny metallic orange. The body. In addition to resculpting so he no longer has a jet exhaust coming out the back, that little thing you see sticking out there is a Lego piece, one of those single peg deals. This is to represent the axle. In the Metal Tails in the comic book, the tails are around this axle on his back, and then they normally hang down in an idle position, but when he flies, they flatten out into a helicopter arrangement, and they spin around, and that's how he flies. The tails themselves are made out of craft foam, something that is not prone to snapping because of how thin they are, and something that will also be very light, so it won't throw the figure off balance. They are simply attached to the back after a paint job. Unfortunately, they do not move. I did not have access to the engineering necessary to rig up a rotating tail system. And I put a lot of thought into figuring out how I would do that, but it just wasn't to be. For that, I apologize. But let's look at the completed Tails figure. This means that I've made Metal Tails now, and I own the Metal Sonic figures, both of them, on a 3-inch scale. I've made a couple of Metal Knuckles in the past, and I made Mecha Sally. So, I think maybe there was a Metal Amy in one of the comics. I'm pretty sure there was a Metal Amy. So I've made almost all of Team Metal that I'm aware of. I'm gonna have to verify what Metal Amy looked like, if I'm even remembering right. Well, up next I'll have Rose Woman done, so that's kind of like a Metal Amy. It's a roboticized Amy, a roboticized Master Amy. Yeah. Okay, yeah, look forward to that teaser. Alright, this is Toy Customizer, Wake Angel 2001, signing out.